Be me, 33 years old and working as a financial analyst at a large insurance company. Been crunching numbers and building spreadsheets for about 9 years now in this industry. My name is Grant, and I live in a condo about 15 minutes from the office downtown. Got a solid routine going with work and gym, and weekends with my girlfriend Naomi. She works in pharmaceutical sales and travels a lot, but we make it work between us. Life is pretty good, and I'm in the best shape of my life thanks to the company gym. Company is called Ridgemont Insurance Group, and we handle commercial policies for businesses nationwide. About 800 employees in our main headquarters building, which is a nice modern tower downtown. The building has everything, including a cafeteria and coffee bar, and most importantly, a full gym. The gym is on the 3rd floor, and it is actually really impressive for a corporate facility. Full weight room with squat racks and benches, plus cardio machines and a yoga studio space. Even has locker rooms with showers, so you can work out at lunch and clean up after. This was a major selling point when I took the job here about 5 years ago. Honestly, I work out at the company gym almost every day during my lunch break, religiously. Started at 195 pounds when I joined, and now I'm down to 175 with visible abs. Finally, the gym is where I de-stress and clear my head and prepare for the afternoon meetings. My buddy Terrence from the actuarial department works out with me most days as a gym partner. He is 36 and got me into powerlifting, and we spot each other on heavy bench days. There is also a regular crew of guys and women who use the gym around the same time. The gym has always been a chill environment where everyone respects each other and the equipment. People wipe down machines and re-rack weights and do not hog equipment during busy hours. There is an unwritten code of conduct that everyone follows without needing official rules posted. Women use the space freely, and I have never seen anyone harass or bother them ever. Sometimes people chat between sets, but mostly everyone is focused on their own workouts quietly. It is one of the few places in the corporate world where hierarchy disappears completely. Honestly, my department is run by a guy named Douglas, who has been with the company for 20 years. He is in his late 50s and knows insurance inside and out like the back of his hand. Very reasonable manager who cares about results and does not micromanage the day-to-day stuff. Lets me structure my own schedule as long as I hit my deadlines and deliverables on time. He actually encouraged me to use the gym because he says healthy employees are productive employees. The kind of boss who leads by example and treats everyone fairly, regardless of their background. The company culture overall has always been pretty straightforward and professional in my experience. People work hard and collaborate well, and there is not much drama or political nonsense happening. The CEO is a woman named Patricia Thornton, who has been running the company for about 8 years. She came up through the underwriting side and knows the business operations extremely well. Very competent leader who focuses on growth and profitability and employee satisfaction metrics. Under her leadership, the company has expanded significantly, and employee benefits have gotten better. February rolls around, and we get an email announcing changes to the Human Resources Department. The previous HR director retired after 30 years, and they have hired a replacement externally. Her name is Wanda Kirsch, and she comes from some consulting background focused on workplace equity. We will meet her at the next all-hands meeting and learn about her vision for the department. Most of us do not pay much attention because HR rarely affects our daily work directly. As long as payroll works and benefits stay good, we do not really care who runs HR. Honestly, the all-hands meeting happens on February 15th in the big auditorium on the 1st floor. Patricia introduces Wanda and talks about the company's commitment to evolving workplace practices. Wanda takes the stage, and immediately the vibe feels different than our usual corporate presentations. She is in her late 40s with severe features and glasses and an intensity that feels out of place. Wears all black with some kind of activist pin on her blazer that I do not recognize. Her LinkedIn, which I check later, shows credentials in trauma-informed organizational development consulting. Wanda thanks Patricia and launches into what feels more like a manifesto than an introduction. talks about how corporate environments have historically been unsafe spaces for marginalized groups. Says she has been brought in specifically to address invisible barriers that harm women and minorities. Announces she will be conducting a comprehensive safety audit of all company facilities and policies. Promises changes that will make Ridgemont a leader in creating harm-free professional environments. I look at Terrence and he raises an eyebrow, but we both shrug and figure it will blow over. The first month under Wanda is relatively quiet as she conducts her audit across the company. She sends surveys asking employees about their experiences with safety and comfort in various spaces. I fill mine out honestly, saying I have never witnessed harassment or felt unsafe at work anywhere. The gym section asks specifically if I have ever felt intimidated by others while working out. I answer no, because I have not, and everyone at the gym has always been respectful to me. Submit the survey and forget about it, because I have actual work to do for clients. March brings the results of the safety audit and another all-hands meeting to discuss findings. Wanda presents data showing that 12% of female employees reported feeling uncomfortable in certain spaces. She highlights the gym specifically as an area of concern based on survey responses received. Says women reported feeling watched and intimidated by male presence during workout sessions. Says the current co-ed environment creates inherent power imbalances that discourage women from exercising. Announces she is forming a task force to develop solutions for creating a safer gym environment. I am confused because I have never seen anyone act inappropriately at the gym in 5 years. The women who work out there seem perfectly comfortable, and several of them are serious lifters. There is a woman named Francine from legal who deadlifts more than most guys in the building. Another woman named Daphne from marketing runs on the treadmill every day and seems totally fine. I have no idea who these uncomfortable women are or what specifically made them feel that way. Terrence leans over and whispers that this feels like a solution looking for a problem, honestly. The task force meets for several weeks, and we hear nothing about what they are discussing. Then, in early April, Wanda sends a company-wide email announcing new gym policies effective immediately. I open the email expecting maybe some new rules about equipment usage or scheduling guidelines. Instead, I find myself reading something that makes my jaw drop open in complete disbelief. The email announces that the gym will now operate on a gender-segregated schedule for safety. Certain hours will be designated as women only to create a safe space for feminine wellness. I scroll down to see the actual schedule, and my stomach drops through the floor completely. Women-only hours are 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., and 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. These are literally all the prime workout times that working professionals would actually use. The remaining hours for open access are 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., and after 7 p.m. So men can use the gym for 4 hours during the workday when most people are in meetings. Or we can work out after 7 p.m. when most people are trying to get home to their families. I immediately walk over to Terrence's desk and ask if he saw the email that just came through. He is staring at his screen with an expression of complete disbelief and frustration showing. "Bro, my lunch break is from 12 to 1, which is now women only," he says with obvious anger. I work out at noon too, which means I am completely locked out of my regular routine now. We walk to the gym together to see if there is any additional information posted about this. There is a new sign on the door listing the hours with a note about creating inclusive spaces. Over the next few days, the backlash from male employees starts building across the company. Guys who use the gym regularly are furious about being locked out during usable hours. The 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. window does not work for anyone because that is prime meeting time, always. The 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. window is slightly better, but still conflicts with afternoon calls and deadlines. And expecting people to stay until after 7 p.m. just to work out is completely unreasonable. Honestly, we are not asking for special treatment. We just want the same access we had before this. I decide to send a polite email to Wanda asking for clarification on the policy and rationale. Explain that the current schedule effectively excludes many male employees from using the gym at all. Ask if there's any possibility of adjusting the hours to provide more equitable access for everyone. Suggest maybe alternating days or splitting the lunch hour instead of blocking entire time periods. Try to be as diplomatic as possible because I genuinely want to find a reasonable solution here. Wanda responds the next day, and her email is condescending in a way that makes my blood boil. Grant, I appreciate your concern, but this policy was developed based on extensive research and feedback. Women have historically been excluded from fitness spaces, and this is an opportunity to correct that. The discomfort you feel being asked to accommodate women's safety is worth examining internally. I encourage you to reflect on why equal access for women feels like a loss to you personally. If you need fitness options, there are many affordable gyms in the area you could join. I read the email 3 times, trying to understand how this is considered equal access. Women get 6 hours of prime gym time every day, and men get 4 hours of unusable time. How is that equal access when one group gets all the good hours and the other gets scraps? I forward the email to Terrence, and he responds with a string of angry emojis and expletives. We start talking to other guys who are affected, and the frustration is universal across departments. Something needs to be done, but nobody knows what options we actually have available to us. The first week of the new policy is chaos as men try to cram into the limited windows. The 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. slot is basically empty because everyone has meetings during that time. The 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. slot is overcrowded, with guys rushing to get a workout in between calls. Equipment that never had wait times now has lines of frustrated people standing around. The quality of workouts drops dramatically because nobody can follow a proper program anymore. And the after 7 p.m. option is being used by almost nobody because people have lives outside work. I try the 2 p.m. slot for a week, and it is miserable compared to my old lunch routine. Spend half my time waiting for equipment and rush through exercises to get back to my desk. My stress levels are actually increasing instead of decreasing because the gym is not helping anymore. I notice the same frustration on the faces of all the other guys crammed into this tiny window. We are all watching the clock and competing for equipment, and it is the opposite of relaxing. This policy that was supposed to help people is actively making the gym experience worse for everyone. Terrence tells me he is just going to join the commercial gym down the street instead. Says it is not worth the hassle of trying to use the company gym under these restrictions. I consider doing the same, but something about it feels like giving up too easily here. We are being forced out of a benefit that is part of our compensation package. Essentially, the gym was a selling point for working here, and now it is being taken away from half the employees. I decide to push back instead of just accepting this situation as the new normal. I send another email to Wanda, this time with a more formal tone, requesting a meeting. Explain that the current policy is creating significant hardship for many male employees. Request an opportunity to discuss alternative arrangements that could address safety concerns equitably. Say that I have spoken with other affected employees and we would like to present some proposals. Try to frame it as collaborative problem-solving rather than confrontation or complaint-making. She responds that she appreciates my continued engagement, but the policy is final and not negotiable. I escalate by sending an email to my manager, Douglas, explaining the situation and asking for guidance. He responds quickly and says he has already heard complaints from other people on the team. Says he raised the issue with his own management, but was told the policy has executive support. Apparently, Wanda convinced Patricia that the gym policy was necessary for legal compliance reasons. Something about creating a safe environment to avoid potential harassment liability for the company. Douglas says his hands are tied, but suggests documenting everything in case it becomes relevant later. That phrase, documenting everything, sticks with me, and I decide to take it seriously. Start keeping a log of all the ways this policy is affecting me and other male employees. Record the dates and times I attempted to use the gym and was turned away or unable to access. Record conversations with other affected employees about the impact on their fitness and stress levels. Record the emails I have sent and the responses I have received from Wanda and others. Something about this feels wrong on a fundamental level, and I want a record of what happened. 2 weeks into the policy, I get a text from a guy named Arthur who works in IT support. He says he heard I was pushing back on the gym policy and asks if we can talk privately. We meet in a conference room, and he tells me he has been researching the legal aspects of this. Says gender-segregated access to employee benefits may violate Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. The law prohibits discrimination based on sex in the terms and conditions of employment. Employee benefits like a gym are considered part of compensation and must be provided equally. Arthur says he is not a lawyer, but his sister is, and he ran the situation by her last week. She said this policy is legally questionable at best and blatantly discriminatory at worst. Suggested we contact the company's legal department to get their opinion on the matter. If the legal team was not consulted before implementing this, they might have concerns about liability. Companies get sued for discrimination all the time, and this seems like an obvious case to him. He asks if I would be willing to join him in raising the issue through official channels. I tell Arthur I am on board, and we should figure out the best way to approach this. We spend an hour drafting a formal, written complaint to submit to the legal department. The complaint outlines the policy and its disparate impact on male employees' access to benefits. It cites the relevant sections of Title VII and asks for a legal review of the policy, requests that the policy be suspended pending the outcome of the legal department's analysis. We both sign it, and Arthur adds 2 other guys from his department who wanted to join. We submit the complaint through the official company portal and wait to see what happens next. Arthur says the legal department is required to respond within 10 business days per company policy. We agree to keep documenting everything and stay in touch about any developments that occur. I tell Terrence about what we did, and he says he wishes he had thought of going to legal. Asks if he can add his name to the complaint, and I tell him to submit his own supporting statement. The more people who formally complain, the harder it will be for them to ignore the issue. The next week is tense as we wait for a response from the legal department about our complaint. I keep going through the motions at work, but I am distracted, thinking about what might happen. The gym policy is still in effect, and I have basically stopped trying to work out there at all. My stress levels are up, and my fitness is declining, and I am frustrated all the time. Naomi notices the change in my mood and asks, "What is going on at work to cause this?" I explain the situation, and she is genuinely shocked that a company would do something so blatant. The response comes on day 8, and it is not from the legal department, but from Wanda directly. She sends me an email saying she is aware I filed a complaint regarding the gym policy, says she is disappointed that I chose to escalate rather than engage in authentic dialogue, says the complaint has been forwarded to legal, but she wanted to reach out personally first, offers to meet with me to discuss my concerns and help me understand the policy better. The tone of the email feels threatening somehow, even though the words are technically professional. I forward the email to Arthur, and he says his sister warned him that retaliation often starts subtle. Says I should document this email and any other communications that feel like intimidation. Suggests I respond to Wanda politely declining the meeting until the legal review is complete. That way, there is a paper trail showing I engaged professionally while protecting myself. I send a brief response, thanking her for reaching out, but stating I prefer to wait for legal's input. She does not respond, and I do not know if that is good or bad, honestly. 3 days later, I get an email from someone in the legal department named Lawrence Kapor. He introduces himself as senior counsel and says he has reviewed my complaint and supporting documents. Says he would like to schedule a meeting with me and the other complainants to discuss further. Says the meeting should happen as soon as possible, given the nature of the issues raised. Asks for my availability this week and suggests we meet in the legal conference room on floor 12. I immediately respond with my availability and text Arthur to let him know something is happening. The meeting happens 2 days later, and Lawrence is joined by another attorney named Samantha Chen. They both have serious expressions and legal pads in front of them covered with notes already. Arthur and I are there, along with the 2 guys from IT who signed the original complaint. Terrence submitted a supporting statement, so he is also invited to attend the meeting today. We sit on one side of the table, and the lawyers sit on the other, looking at us intently. Lawrence starts by thanking us for bringing this matter to the legal department's attention formally. Says they have reviewed the policy and the documentation we provided very carefully over the past week. Says they also reviewed the process by which the policy was developed and implemented originally. Looks at Samantha, who nods slightly before he continues speaking in a grave, serious tone. The policy, as currently written, raises significant concerns under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Providing differential access to employee benefits based on gender is a form of sex discrimination. Samantha takes over and explains that the legal department was not consulted before implementation. Wanda apparently told Patricia that outside equity consultants had reviewed the policy for compliance, but when legal contacted those consultants, they said they advised on best practices, not legal issues. The consultants explicitly stated they are not lawyers and did not provide legal analysis of the policy. So the policy was implemented without any actual legal review, despite claims to the contrary made. This is a significant process failure that has exposed the company to potential liability unnecessarily. Lawrence says the legal department is recommending immediate suspension of the gender-segregated schedule. They will be presenting their findings to Patricia and the executive team later this afternoon. He expects the policy will be reversed within 24 to 48 hours, based on the legal risk involved. In the meantime, he asks us to continue documenting any issues and to avoid discussing this publicly. Once the situation is resolved, they will follow up with us about any remedial measures needed. Thanks us again for having the courage to raise the issue through proper channels professionally. I leave the meeting feeling a mix of vindication and nervous anticipation about what happens next. Text Naomi to tell her something big is happening, and I will explain everything tonight at home. Terrence and I walk back to our desks in silence, because we do not know who might overhear. Arthur sends a message to our group chat saying his sister was right and the law actually worked. We agree to wait and see what happens over the next couple of days before celebrating anything. The next morning, an email goes out from Patricia Thornton to the entire company with an important update. She announces that the gym policy implemented last month is being suspended, effective immediately. Says the legal department identified compliance concerns that require the policy to be reevaluated. The gym will return to open access for all employees during all operating hours starting today. She apologizes for any inconvenience the policy may have caused and thanks employees for their patience. Says a full review will be conducted and any future policies will be properly vetted before implementation. I read the email twice to make sure I'm understanding what it says correctly, and then I smile, walk over to Terrence's desk, and we exchange a look of relief and satisfaction without saying anything. He holds up his phone, showing the same email, and just nods with a grin on his face. Arthur texts the group saying, "We did it," with a string of celebration emojis attached. The other guys who signed the complaint are responding with similar excitement and relief. It actually worked, and the policy that seemed so permanent just a week ago is now gone. Later that same day, we get word through the grapevine that Wanda has been called into a meeting. Apparently, Patricia and the legal team met with her for over 2 hours behind closed doors. Nobody knows exactly what was said, but people report seeing Wanda leave the building looking upset. Her assistant is packing up personal items from her office, which is never a good sign. By the end of the day, an email goes out announcing that Wanda Kirsch has left the company. No details about whether she resigned or was terminated, but the timing makes it pretty obvious. The next week, Lawrence schedules a follow-up meeting with all of us who filed the original complaint, thanks us again for bringing the issue forward, and says the legal department has completed their review. Wanda has been separated from the company due to multiple policy violations and process failures. The gym policy was just one example of problematic initiatives she implemented without proper oversight. There were apparently other issues in other departments that came to light during the investigation. Patricia has committed to significant changes in how HR policies are developed and approved going forward. Lawrence says the company wants to make things right with the employees who were affected. They are offering us compensatory time off equivalent to the gym hours we were unable to access. They are also offering to reimburse anyone who joined an outside gym during the policy period. And they are implementing new oversight procedures requiring legal review of all HR policy changes. The legal department will have a permanent representative on any task force proposing new employee policies. This should prevent similar situations from happening in the future under different leadership. I thank Lawrence and Samantha for taking our complaint seriously and acting on it so quickly. Lawrence says we should thank ourselves because too many people just accept unfair treatment silently. Says the legal department can only help when people have the courage to come forward with issues. Samantha adds that our documentation was excellent and made their job much easier, honestly. Says if we ever have concerns in the future, we should not hesitate to reach out directly. Gives us her card and says her door is always open for employees with legitimate concerns. Walk out of the meeting feeling like something genuinely good happened because we spoke up together. Arthur is grinning and says he is going to call his sister tonight to tell her she was right. Terrence says he is going straight to the gym for a proper lunch workout for the first time in weeks. I tell them I will join him, and we walk to the elevator together, feeling lighter than we have in months. The gym is still there, and it is open, and we can use it whenever we want again. Such a simple thing, but it feels like a victory worth celebrating after what we went through. That afternoon, I finally get a real workout in during my regular lunch hour time slot. The gym feels different now, in a way that is hard to describe, but definitely positive. Maybe it is just my imagination, but people seem friendlier and more relaxed than before somehow. Francine from Legal is deadlifting in the corner and nods at me as I walk past her platform. Daphne from Marketing is on her usual treadmill and waves when she sees me coming in. The weird tension that built up over the past month has dissipated and things feel normal again. I knock out a solid workout and shower and get back to my desk feeling great for once. My productivity that afternoon is higher than it has been in weeks because my head is clear. The gym is not just about fitness. It is about mental health and stress relief and routine. Taking it away disrupted something fundamental about how I manage my work and life balance. Having it back feels like regaining something important that I did not fully appreciate before. I send a text to Naomi saying the situation is resolved, and I will explain everything at dinner. That night, I tell Naomi the whole story from beginning to end, including the legal complaint. She listens carefully and asks questions and seems genuinely impressed that we fought back and won. Says she is proud of me for standing up instead of just accepting the unfair treatment. I tell her about Arthur and his sister and how important it was to have someone who knew the law. She says maybe I should send his sister a thank you gift for the advice she provided to us. I laugh and say, that is actually a really good idea, and I will talk to Arthur about it. The weeks that follow are surprisingly normal as the company moves on from the whole situation. The new interim HR director is a guy named Philip, who has been with the company for 15 years. He focuses on boring, standard HR stuff, like benefits enrollment and performance review processes. No manifestos about unsafe spaces or policies designed to exclude people based on their gender. Just normal HR work that supports employees instead of creating problems that do not exist. It is amazing how functional things can be when people just do their actual jobs professionally. Douglas calls me into his office one afternoon and closes the door, which makes me nervous initially. He says he wanted to personally thank me for having the courage to push back on the gym policy. Says he tried to fight it internally, but did not have the standing to make a difference from his level. Appreciates that I went through proper channels and handled everything professionally throughout. Says leadership noticed how I conducted myself, and it has reflected positively on my reputation. Tells me there may be opportunities coming up that I should be prepared to consider seriously. I thank Douglas and tell him I was just trying to do what was right for everyone affected. He nods and says that is exactly the kind of attitude the company needs more of. Honestly says, too many people just keep their heads down and let bad things happen around them. The willingness to speak up constructively is a leadership quality that is hard to find. I leave his office feeling good about how things turned out, despite the stress of the past months. Sometimes doing the right thing actually does get noticed and rewarded by the people who matter. Summer arrives and I get promoted to senior financial analyst with a significant raise attached. The promotion letter mentions my professionalism and integrity during a challenging period. Specifically, I think about how close I came to just giving up and joining an outside gym like Terrence suggested. If I had done that, the policy would probably still be in effect, hurting other employees daily. Instead, I pushed back and found allies and used the proper channels and actually made a difference. That matters, and I feel good about the example I set for others who might face similar situations. Arthur gets promoted too, which makes me happy because he was the one who knew about the legal angle. Without his sister's advice, we might not have known that what happened was actually illegal. We have lunch together to celebrate, and he tells me she was thrilled to hear how it turned out. He says she deals with employment discrimination cases all the time, but most of them are depressing, people losing their jobs or being harassed, and companies paying settlements to make problems go away. It was nice for her to hear about a case where employees won and the bad actor faced consequences. I ask Arthur what happened to Wanda and if he has heard anything about where she landed. He says he checked LinkedIn and she is now working as an independent equity consultant somewhere. Her profile talks about her extensive experience transforming organizational culture at major companies. Does not mention being fired or the legal issues or the policy that blew up in her face. She will probably do the same thing somewhere else and eventually face consequences again. People like that never learn because they cannot see themselves as the problem in any situation. I shrug and say that is not my problem anymore, and I refuse to spend energy thinking about her. I have a job and a girlfriend and a gym membership that I can actually use whenever I want. Those are the things that matter in my life, and I am going to focus on enjoying them fully. We finish lunch and head back to the office, and I stop at the gym for an afternoon session. Knock out some squats and feel the stress of the day melting away with each rep completed. This is what I was fighting for, and it is exactly as good as I remembered it being before. Fall arrives, and Naomi and I are getting more serious about our future together as a couple. We have been talking about moving in together and maybe getting engaged sometime next year. I want to be the kind of partner who stands up for what is right and protects our family. The experience with the gym policy taught me that you cannot just accept unfair treatment passively. You have to be willing to fight for yourself and the people you care about when it matters. And you have to trust that the truth will win if you present it clearly and professionally. One evening, I am at the gym doing some light cardio when Francine from legal walks over to chat. She says she heard through the grapevine that I was one of the people who filed the complaint. I confirm that I was, and she thanks me for doing something about the situation that affected everyone. Says she was actually one of the women who used the gym during the women-only hours originally, but she never asked for the policy and was uncomfortable with how it was implemented from the start. The idea that she needed protection from her male colleagues felt patronizing and insulting to her. Francine says she considered filing a complaint herself, but was worried about being labeled difficult. Hearing that the policy was actually illegal and that people successfully challenged it was vindicating. She says a lot of the women who work out regularly felt the same way about the whole situation. They did not want special treatment. They just wanted to exercise without being used as pawns. I tell her that means a lot to hear because I was not sure how women actually felt about the policy. She laughs and says assuming all women supported it was probably part of Wanda's blind spot. Honestly, I think about that conversation a lot over the following days and what it means for situations like this. Sometimes people in power claim to be acting on behalf of groups who never ask for their help. They use those groups as shields to deflect criticism and silence anyone who pushes back. But the people they claim to represent often disagree with the policies being implemented in their name. The disconnect between what advocates say and what actual people want is something worth paying attention to. Real equity is not about giving advantages to one group. It is about treating everyone fairly. Winter arrives, and it has been almost a year since Wanda first announced the gym policy changes. I am in the best shape of my life again, after a few rough months of disrupted training. Hitting the gym regularly during lunch, and my stress levels are back to normal, finally. The company culture has mostly recovered from the chaos, and things feel stable again overall. Philip, the interim HR director, was made permanent and continues to do boring, competent HR work. Patricia sent a company-wide message on the anniversary, acknowledging lessons learned from the past year. I get a text from Terrence saying we should grab beers after work to celebrate surviving everything. We meet at the bar across from the office and order drinks and talk about how crazy the year was. He says he almost quit during the worst of it and was actively interviewing at other companies. I tell him I am glad he stayed because he is one of my best friends at work. Honestly, we toast to the gym being open and to Lawrence and Samantha for actually doing their jobs. And we toast to Arthur's sister, who gave us the legal knowledge we needed to fight back. Terrence asks what lesson I took from the whole experience, and I think about it for a moment. I tell him the main lesson is that you have to be willing to stand up when something is wrong. Keeping your head down and hoping problems go away just lets bad people get away with bad things. But you also have to be smart about how you fight and use the proper channels available. Documentation matters, and allies matter, and knowing the law matters when you are up against power. If we had just complained loudly without a strategy, we probably would have been ignored or retaliated against. He nods and says, "The other lesson is that most people want to do the right thing if given a chance. The legal team did not know what was happening until we told them, and they acted immediately. Patricia reversed the policy as soon as she understood the legal risk to the company involved. Even Douglas tried to fight internally before we escalated through official channels outside his reach. The problem was Wanda having too much unchecked power and nobody questioning her decisions. Once the system worked the way it was supposed to, the problem got solved pretty quickly." I agree with that assessment and add that bad leaders often count on people being too scared to speak up. They use intimidation and guilt and ideology to silence anyone who questions their decisions. But their power is actually fragile because it depends on everyone going along with the program. The moment someone stands up and says, "This is wrong," the whole thing can start to unravel. You just have to be the person willing to take that first step and trust that others will follow. Easier said than done, but sometimes you have no choice if you want to keep your self-respect. We finish our drinks and head out into the cold night air, feeling good about everything. I go home to Naomi, and we cook dinner together and talk about our plans for the holidays. Life is simple and good, and I'm grateful for everyone who helped me get through the difficult months. The gym is there waiting for me tomorrow at lunch, and I will use it without any restrictions. Such a small thing in the grand scheme of life, but it represents something much bigger. The principle that everyone deserves equal treatment and fair access regardless of their gender. My face when the feminist HR director thought she could ban men from the gym for safety, and the legal team showed her exactly why that was the dumbest decision she ever made professionally. Sometimes the system actually works, if you know how to use it and have the courage to try. Document everything and find allies and know your rights and use the proper channels available. The people who try to discriminate usually count on their victims being too scared to fight back. Show them that you are not scared and watch how fast their confidence disappears when consequences arrive. Happy ending for everyone except Wanda, who is probably making some other company miserable right now. But like I said, that is not my problem, and I am done thinking about her forever, honestly. Time to hit the gym tomorrow and enjoy the access that I fought for and won back legitimately. Going to squat heavy and bench heavy and feel good about standing up for what was right. The weights do not care about politics or ideology. They only respond to effort and consistency. Just like life, honestly. If you put in the work and do the right thing, good results usually follow. And that is my story about the time an HR director tried to take away our gym access, and we fought back through proper channels and won, and got her fired in the process. Moral of the story is do not accept unfair treatment just because someone in power says you should. There are laws and lawyers and systems designed to protect you if you are willing to use them. All you have to do is document everything and find the right people and refuse to give up. You might be surprised how quickly things change when you show them you are not going to be pushed around. Going to bed tonight, grateful for my gym and my job and my girlfriend and my friends. Tomorrow is another day, and I'm going to make the most of it like I always try to do. Life is good when you stand up for yourself and refuse to let anyone take what is yours. Remember that next time someone tries to tell you that discrimination is actually equity. It is not, and you do not have to accept it. And there are people who will help you fight back. Just have the courage to speak up and trust that the truth will win in the end, eventually.